Shalom, everybody, and welcome to a new special edition of Hananya Reacts to Media Reports about Israel. Today, we have a lot to react to because Israel, as you know, resumed the war in Gaza targeting Hamas. And my goodness, the media just went nuts about Israel, reporting nonstop, making, of course, Israel look very bad, completely forgetting, right, that it was Israel that came under attack, not Israel starting the war. So without further ado, there's a lot to react to. And, you know, I just think that the best way to debunk the lies and to counter the misinformation is why not just react to, let's watch it together and let's talk about it together, right? Shall we? So without further ado, I compiled some recent, the biggest reports that I saw, and I just think that it's going to be really interesting to watch. So the first one, let me pull this. The first one is this UN Under Secretary General Chief for Humanitarian Emergency Affairs. Let's see what he has to say, shall we? Okay.
We must renew the ceasefire. Madam.
Whoa. Sorry to stop you so quickly, but resuming the ceasefire would be so easy. All you got to do is simply bring our people back, bring the hostages back. Israel wanted the ceasefire. Israel sent delegations to Qatar, to Egypt, to negotiate the ceasefire. So the easiest thing if you want to have ceasefire is let's just actually bring our people back. That's why Israel is back at war, because we saw that that Hamas is not interested in having this ceasefire. So anyways, let's continue.
President, three things need to happen right now. First and foremost, humanitarian aid and commercial essentials must be allowed to enter Gaza.
For Hamas to steal them, right? But by the way, okay, well, let's see what he has to say.
Blocking food, water, medicine for people who need them is unconscionable. It also...
You know what's also unconscionable? Starving hostages, starving our people, keeping civilians in the tunnels for over a year, starving them on purpose. This is inhumane. Israel actually sent more than 1 million tons of, well, Israel facilitated, because it wasn't just Israel, but Israel facilitated the humanitarian aid into the Gaza Strip of over 1 million tons of aid. Okay, that's more aid that had entered into Afghanistan. Okay, we're talking about 16 months of war, and over 1 million tons of aid has been facilitated into the Gaza Strip by Israel. So excuse me for not buying these lies that you're trying to portray here.
Goes against international humanitarian law and the provisional orders of the International Court of Justice.
Hold on. Goes against international? Look, I think that Hamas keeping hostages goes against international law. And I think that firing rockets targeting civilians, as Hamas did, goes against international law. Israel does its utmost best to avoid targeting civilians. We send leaflets. We send out messages calling people, calling families, asking them to evacuate.
Second, the return to hostilities overnight must cease. The suffering of the people of the region must end. A renewed ceasefire is the best way of protecting civilians in Gaza, in the OPT, and in Israel. Release.
The best way to secure peace in the region is to uproot radicalism. Hamas, they don't want peace. They don't want ceasefire. They want to expand their territory. The Hamas 1988 charter says that very clearly.
Hostages and detainees and allowing aid and commercial supplies in.
For Hamas to steal them, right?
The humanitarian response must be funded. We have received only 4% of what is needed. We don't even have enough to get through this quarter.
Well, if the UN would have done a better job instead of, as we saw on October 7, UNRWA employees that participated in the massacre, 12 of them, I think, were teachers, if I'm not wrong. So if you would have done a better job, then maybe you would have gotten more, and you would have not lost the faith that the public had in you. Honestly, the United Nations has become nothing more than a joke. The united nothing.
I'm reminded of a message I saw scrawled on a hospital whiteboard in Gaza, written by a doctor who was later killed. A message that has stuck with me. Whoever stays until the end will tell the story. We did what we could. Remember us. Madam President, colleagues on the Security Council, will we be able to say that we did what we could?
I know Israel would be able to say, we did what we could, and we are going to stay to make sure that the world doesn't forget what we had been through. And that does not mean that we're negating the tragedy of civilian casualties, but it is not Israel that's putting civilians in harm's way. It's Hamas that's doing that. So I don't understand, why does the UN always present Hamas as victims? You know, the fact that Hamas is losing the war doesn't make them the victims here, and the fact that Israel is strong doesn't make us the perpetrators of this whole thing.
Thank you.
A fragile ceasefire broken overnight after deadly Israeli airstrikes rocked the Gaza Strip. Minutes ago, Israel's foreign ministry said this was in response to Hamas rejecting 2 concrete mediation proposals presented by the U.S.
I just have to say, this is going to be fun, reacting to a CNN report about the war in Gaza.
The sound and scene of strikes there in Gaza. In the aftermath, there are horrific scenes coming out of Gaza City. The Palestinian Health Ministry says...
First of all, hold on. I'm reading now this banner that says Israel strikes Gaza, shattering fragile ceasefire with Hamas. That's completely misleading the viewers, because it's not the ceasefire actually technically ended before Israel started to strike Hamas. The ceasefire has ended more than a week ago, actually I think almost 2 weeks ago, and the only reason that Israel resumed the war now, it could have resumed the war 2 weeks ago, but the fact that Israel only resumed the war now shows that even though the ceasefire ended, Israel was still allowing for negotiations to happen, because we wanted to, obviously, do you know a country that has hostages and would not want to release them, to bring them home? I don't know of one. So Israel, of course, let time for negotiations to happen, but this is just madness.
More than 400 people have been killed. Gaza hospitals simply overwhelmed as doctors race to treat heavily wounded patients. One doctor telling us the majority of the patients she's been seeing are children.
I could hear people yelling outside, screaming. I heard ambulance driving on and off. The bombs have also been hitting tents and other structures where families have taken refuge.
We're hearing from UNICEF official, right? UNICEF, the same UNICEF that, hold on, I think I have a picture here to show you. The same UNICEF that Hamas, when they invaded Israel, raided kibbutzim and military bases, they used your first aid kit, you know? So sorry that we're not trusting a word that you're saying. Look at that. Again, a UNICEF first aid kit that was found on the Hamas pickup trucks when they invaded Israel. Like, the pictures speak for themselves. The UN knew what Hamas was doing, and they allowed them to do that. I mean, let's just look at this video. This is it says in Hebrew, terrorists right next to UN vehicles in Gaza. So if you stand for human rights, if you stand for the Palestinians in Gaza, then why are you seen with Hamas, with Hamas armed terrorists? This is it only shows you that the United Nations in Gaza is completely ran and controlled by Hamas, because they're literally armed. There are armed terrorists outside the UN building. There was also this video. I don't know if you can see the rockets that these terrorists in Gaza are about to launch into Israel. They're placed on UN some bags, UN branded bags, and they're literally using them to launch rockets into Israel and kill civilians. How is the world okay with that? This is just insane. Anyways, let's go back to what she was saying.
Children reported kills, many more injured.
As I've said, civilians that are caught up in a crossfire is a tragedy. I served as an Israeli soldier in the Israeli army, and not once was I told to target civilians. I was never told or taught to target civilians. In fact, I also served as a combat medic, and I actually treated Palestinian civilians, Syrian civilians. So to come and make it look like it is Israel that's the warmonger, that it's Israel that's perpetrating atrocities in Gaza, it's Hamas. We don't owe you an apology for wanting to exist. We don't owe not the UN, not anyone in the media a justification to what we are doing, because if you were in our shoes, trust me, you would have done the same thing that we are doing.
CNN's Jeremy Diamond is in Tel Aviv for us. Jeremy, what does this mean for the ceasefire? Obviously, we can see what it means for the Palestinians, but also for the hostages who hang in the balance.
Finally mentioning the hostages, okay.
Well, for the moment, at least, this ceasefire is very much dead. The war is back on as the Israeli military launched
the ceasefire that ended more than 2 weeks ago, right? Keep that in mind.
Punishing series of deadly airstrikes across the Gaza Strip from southern to central to northern Gaza overnight. More than 400 people have been killed now, according to the Palestinian Ministry of Health's latest.
Palestinian Ministry of Health that is ran by Hamas. Hamas does not distinguish between terrorists and civilians. They count everybody the same. And I also have to mention that in these airstrikes, Israel eliminated at least 6 senior terrorists, including the spokesperson of the Islamic Jihad in Gaza. But sure, let's see what he has to say.
More than 500 people have been wounded, and as you noted, a number of those victims have indeed been children. The Israeli Prime Minister, in launching this offensive last night, said that it was launched because of Hamas's repeated refusal to release hostages. Here's a spokesman for the Israeli Foreign Ministry this morning.
Concrete proposals made by the American Special Envoy to extend the ceasefire. Hamas said no. So with no other choice,
exactly,
Israel is forced to carry out this activity.
And so, as you can hear, that is the Israeli government's justification. But it is, of course, important to note that Hamas said it was willing to continue to negotiate while it rejected that.
Hold on. Wait. I had to pause this because it almost sounds like they are almost justifying. Hamas was willing to negotiate, and Israel didn't proceed with towards the the continuation of the not peace negotiations, but ceasefire negotiations. And by the way, I think that that the media forgets that ceasefire is not peace. Okay, ceasefire is the temporary pause in a war. So obviously nobody wants to see war, but at the end of the day, if Hamas really cared about Palestinian civilians and Palestinian lives, so why are they hiding behind them? If Hamas really wanted peace and prosperity, so why are they holding our people, including, by the way, American hostages? They did release American hostages, but there is still in the Gaza Strip hostages, and they're keeping them. So excuse me for wanting to bring our people home.
A proposal from Steve Witkoff, it wanted to go back to the deal that Israel and Hamas both signed on to, meaning negotiating phase 2 of this ceasefire agreement, which would entail an end of the war in Gaza and the withdrawal of all Israeli troops. But in recent weeks, the Israeli government has made clear it was not interested in negotiating that phase 2 agreement. Instead,
Wait. I have to comment on this because I saw that the media was talking a lot about Israel's refusal to enter into the phase 2 of the ceasefire agreement. Now, the original agreement was there were the principles and the details of phase 1 that everybody, both sides agreed upon, which went through with Hamas violations and the ceremonies, the bogus and the hypocritical ceremonies that they staged there, orchestrated by Hamas. They were definitely not part of this deal. They were supposed to give us our people without orchestrating some show out of it. But I have to say, Israel and Hamas did not sign to any details as part of the phase 2. There were the only both sides did not commit to principles of phase 2. There was only an agreement to start negotiating, and Israel actually wanted to negotiate. It says that Israel. The Israeli government said, we wanted to negotiate, we wanted to bring more hostages home. That's why Israel actually entered into the ceasefire, to bring the hostages home. So if Israel wants to bring hostages home, it means that Israel is willing to take steps such as negotiations. But also, Israel was never obligated to withdraw from Gaza as part of the signed agreement. But then, it's very easy to blur the lines and
looking to get more hostages out of Gaza without making those engaging in those overall negotiations. Now, the real question is whether or not Israel and Hamas can come back to the negotiating table. It is clear that the Israeli military strikes are in part a pressure tactic here to try and get Hamas to agree to these new conditions.
Anyways, thank you so much for watching this reaction video. Let me know in the comments if you would like me to make more of these videos. And of course, stand with Israel. I invite you guys, please, in this world with everything that you're seeing, all the mainstream media, that's the way they're portraying the story and the facts. Subscribe to my YouTube channel so that you don't miss the truth from Israel, from the Middle East, stories from around the world. And if you want to take a stand against BDS, against those that hate Israel, so of course, be sure to visit theisraelstore.com, grab a shirt like this one, or find something that you like. I love this one. And I have to say, yeah, let me know in the comments if you have any suggestions for me, videos that you would like me to react to. And without further ado, have an amazing day. Shalom from Israel.